Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast, where we hope you are getting better every day. And that's what today's episode is about. But so far, how you doing, Kelvin?
Doing good.
Good.
Excellent day. Pretty out here. And alive and healthy and having a good time. How about you?
Doing great over here. I did a We Make Plans, God Laughs thing this morning. I decided to sleep in and, pay attention to the weather forecast. It said we're going to have a nice, cool, rainy morning. And then I woke up and found out we were not going to have a nice, cool, rainy morning. And so my run was a little hot and humid. But, yeah, hey, whatever. We did it. Because
made it through anyway.
Yeah, that's what we do. Our guest today is Orest, the old guy. The old guy talks to me. Interesting conversation. A lot of fun. There's going to be an E on this episode. Don't listen with little kids. Maybe don't listen on the speakers at work. Put your headphones on. We talk about sex and exercise and not being a dick. I guess also comes up. Unless it's time to be, because that also comes up.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely a good conversation. So.
Yeah. So I think we're going to not babble too much because we went probably about an hour and a quarter with Orest. And we'll just play some music. And on the other side of that, you'll hear our conversation. Enjoy it. Teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good. So where are you guys located?
Good, Kevin.
I'm in Liverpool, New York, Syracuse area.
Oh, okay.
And Josh,
I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
Atlanta.
All right. So, guys, how'd you guys connect?
I used to live up there in Syracuse, and we met at a mutual friend's barbecue. What did we figure, about 2004 or so?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay, great.
And then he left because he got tired of the cold up here, and we ended up. And he got a new job, so we ended up just before he left. We just started hanging out every couple of weeks, to have dinner on Friday and something. And then when he moved to Savannah, we weren't talking locally anymore, so we ended up talking on Zoom. And then after we did that, he's like, we should do a podcast. We talk about cool stuff. We should just. So we ended up doing that, and we've been doing that now for about 275 issues.
Wow, that's a while. How many times a week do you guys have a podcast out?
Once a week.
Just once a week.
Okay, so wow. So you guys
it's been
about
4 or 5
years
we've been on this.
Yeah. So it's been a good run, and he hadn't gotten tired of me yet.
Well, I do get the week in between off, so
there is that, yeah. So cool. So where are you now?
I'm in Las Vegas.
Ah,
yeah, but being in Las Vegas is not like visiting Las Vegas. Okay, I'm in an area called Summerlin, which is as suburbia as any other place could be.
Oh,
yeah. So it's not. I mean, at night we can see the Strip from our house, but that's about it. When you live in Las Vegas, you don't go to the Strip except infrequently.
Yeah.
Every time you have guests who insist.
Exactly. Or you do a staycation. So those are always those are good because you can just drive to your hotel in 30 minutes and be back home in 30 minutes.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, we and I've driven through a couple of times, and the lights and it just looks like not my scene.
Yeah. It's usually about even when I would come up here and visit, it was 48 hours was the max.
Yeah.
That was about it. It was done. But we moved up here about 3 years ago, so it's been pretty nice.
So you like in the desert?
Pardon me?
You like in the desert?
Well, we moved from Phoenix, so it's not much. It's not that much different. It's actually a little bit cool. It's a little bit cooler up here than it is in Phoenix, but not that much either.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I guess, we always like to ask our guests, what their mission is and why that's their mission. And
well, my mission is pretty much in my tagline, helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. And it's partially out of self-interest. I do a lot of stuff. I find out a lot of stuff. I get to interview a lot of interesting people on my podcast, a lot of cutting-edge people. And there's stuff that there's information that I gather that I actually use. So we've all done that where we've gone to a seminar and taken a bunch of notes and got all excited and come home and come home Sunday and then Monday it's a gathering dust on the bookshelf. But no, it's fun because I get to talk to people that normally would never have a reason to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Such as yourselves. No reason you'd ever have to talk to me. And so it really is about, and then I think that many men get old too soon. And I see that. I see that in the gym. I see that in restaurants. They just get too old too soon. And I'm pretty exciting. That sounds very self-serving, but I got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But most of the time, especially I'm soon to be 69,
mm-hmm.
and I still got stuff I want to do, and I would say that's probably unusual for people in my age bracket that they have stuff that they want to do with their life. One of the things I want to do is go run with the bulls, and was it Papelona?
Ooh.
Yeah, I want to do that. I think that's going to be a 2022 type of thing because it's already done for this year. But a friend of mine has done it about 10 or 11 times, and I want to at least do it once.
You're not allowed to fall down.
Yeah.
So you got to be in shape for that. I don't do a lot of exciting stuff, but there's a guy I ran across not too long ago named Dan Sullivan, and he put out a book. My plan to live to be 156. So I decided that I want to live to be 156. I just got to stay healthy.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
But his thing is like, if you're not gonna, if you're thinking about you're gonna die at 65, then you're not gonna take care of yourself. But if you're gonna live a long time, what then? So it sounds like you've got a bit of that philosophy in you.
Yeah. Well, part of it also is that I watched my father dying for over 40 years. Yeah, he was dying for over 40 years.
Wow.
That was his approach to life. Consequently, I'm pretty honest about there wasn't really much to show for it in terms of his life, and it was just that he had emphysema, but he was always dying. He was dying in 1960, and he died in 1997. Oh, wow. So 37 years. He outlived 5 of his doctors. He got last rites in the Catholic Church 6 times. But he was always dying. Like I said, it was kind of, I look at it, I'm going like, now I look at it like, what were you thinking?
How old was he when he started dying?
He died. He was 82 when he died, And so he started dying. He started dying in his 30s, 40s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he started dying. So he was dying for a long time. Yeah. So it's kind of a interesting phenomenon.
That would be its own book. How to take 40 years to die.
Yeah. That's. No, I don't want to read that book.
I understand.
I already saw the live play.
For sure.
So when did you start taking that lesson to your life, and how did you become who you are from that?
There are several I would call transformational moments. Probably the biggest one was when I got married. I didn't get married until I was 40. I've been married once, and so still married. We're going 29 years in November. And so that was a very transformational moment. And I think also what happened as far as my health goes, it was when my wife had I was 45 when she had our first daughter, and I had to make a decision. I was basically fat. People in my family tend to be fat, and I was fat. I was like 240 pounds. I was, built like a Pillsbury Doughboy. I was fat. My knees hurt, everything's swollen, and I wore really loose clothing, and I was shaped like a beach ball. And and I had to make the decision whether I was going to be a grandfather or a father to my kids. At 45, you can start letting yourself deteriorate, especially if you've seen your father dying for a long time. And so that's when I started to really start taking care of myself. I think that probably one of the most important things is your mind and your body are very much connected, and you got to take care of both. And if you think that you can take care of one and not the other, then I'll tell you to your face, you're stupid. How's that? I've been known.
Just tell us what to think.
I've been known to be subtle, but not very often.
Who has time anymore?
Really.
I found myself just lately saying this, and I don't know why, but I'm just too old to care anymore. I just like, you tell me something. I saw a YouTube video. Some he was having an altercation with somebody in the store, and I just look at it like, yeah, I can see that. You're just too old to care anymore. You just don't really care. I'm not interested in nonsense. I'm not interested in that. It's not like I go out and try. I don't try to be an asshole and things like that. I'm not naturally confrontational, but on the other hand, it's like I just don't care anymore. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you don't like what I think, and that's fine. My life is not dependent on your life. My life is dependent on me.
Yeah, that was see, how did you get to the point? Because, a lot of people care about what everybody thinks.
Uh-huh.
So how did you manage to get to the point where you didn't?
I don't know. That's a really interesting question, Kelly. It happened. I don't know. I think it happened again sometime in my 40s, 50s, when I became very comfortable in my own skin about who I was, and I also became comfortable with my imperfections. There's some things I'll just never change about who I am. I mean, it's just there's some things that you can work on all 24/7. It's just in your system, and you ain't going to change who you are at your basic core, your operating system. There's a test that I took. It's an assessment test. It's called the Kolbe A, and the Kolbe A is it's about your if you guys want, I'll send you a link to it. The Kolbe A is about your operating system. Mm-hmm. How you function in the world. And it was very interesting because for me, it articulated things that I knew about myself, but could not actually verbalize. Mm-hmm. And so it actually gave me verbalize some of the things I knew. I had a friend who took it. He's taken it actually 4 times. He took it when he was actually he was he was a warm up for Tony Robbins on stage. And then 9 months later, he was selling his road bike so he could buy baby formula. He was broke. He got caught up in the real estate crash in 2008. And then he was kind of on his way up, and now he's bought like a monster house in Laguna Beach. But he made an interesting comment. He says that I've taken a Kolbe A 4 times. When I was flush, when I was broke, and basically drinking vodka in my basement. And he said the tests were all the same. The results came back all the same because it's your operating system. It's your internal operating system, which doesn't really change. So it's very interesting. But I just found out a lot of things. But yeah, I got comfortable, and it was just and the more I got comfortable, the easier it was. Does that make sense? Because I think there's a certain tipping point that you get to, and then all of a sudden just become more and more and more comfortable that you are about who you are. And at the end of the day, I feel that I'm a good person. But if you piss me off, I can become a dick real fast. And unfortunately, it's a switch.
Based on the pictures on your website, I think I can understand that. I can see that point coming out. Yeah.
It's not like it's slowly. It's like, what got into him could be said about me sometimes if I get angry. And there's certain things that really make me angry. Just rapidly, and I'll say something. It's especially if people being rude, especially like in a service situation, or whatever. That's kind of a thing with me, and so yeah. But I think just being comfortable, and it just happened over time. And because I wasn't always that, I was actually very shy, I know it's kind of hard to believe I was shy. Yeah, I was very shy. Actually, in high school, my senior year, I was so shy, I hardly spoke to anyone, and people thought I was on drugs because I was that shy. And so I've become very loud. When I'm in a room, you generally will tend to know it. Some of it also has to do with staying vibrant over time, and that I'm also a big believer, because I've talked about this in the past. I'm a big believer in better living through science, and if you go through my podcast episodes, there's lots of I interview lots of doctors and lots of experts on cutting edge technologies in what's referred to as functional medicine. Now it used to be called anti-aging medicine. And I spent a lot of time in that space. I spent a lot of time talking about that kind of stuff, and with cutting edge people. So it's stuff that I talk about, most people won't hear about for another few years.
Is that people like Dom D'Agostino and David Sinclair?
I've had Dom on my show twice. I'm actually going to have his wife on my show. She's also a brilliant person. I just got her bio, and half the words in her bio I have to look up. She's a PhD in neuroscience, and then a whole bunch of other words that I didn't even know what they meant. It was just like it was like, yeah. And with Dom, I actually, because I saw him interviewed by someone else, and I said, Dom, I said we need to really take the vocabulary down about 4 notches. Take me back to the 8th grade, because sometimes I'd have to stop him in the middle. I was like, okay, all right, could you because when he was being interviewed by this other woman, what's her name, Rhonda Patrick, she's also just a brilliant person.
Her too.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah. I mean, they might as well have been speaking Klingon, because they were using words that no one in the audience knew what they meant, unless it was somebody in the field. So I'm Dom D'Agostino. I've interviewed doctors on testosterone.
Okay.
a few doctors on testosterone and also androgen experts. And I'm a great believer. Just for all your listeners, I've been on exogenous testosterone for 25 years, way before they started advertising it. And I'm pretty happy about it. I just got back from the gym.
Mhm.
I had some injuries and I'm working my way back up on the free weights. And today I did 2 sets of 90-pound dumbbells, bench press.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, at age soon to be 69, it's pretty good. My goal is to get back to where I was at 100. I'm do that by my birthday in October. If anybody wants to get me a birthday present, I'm a XL, size 10, and I love Glenlivet Scotch and El Artista cigars, especially the Big Pappy is one of my favorites. So I'm a big proponent of that. And I think that's, if you talk about vibrancy, when I get off of my testosterone, which I've done off and on a little bit here and there for various reasons, including international travel. The last thing I want to do is have a conversation about my testosterone with a customs agent in a foreign country. Even though everything I do, just for purposes, everything I do is prescription based. It's not like illegal, yeah. I don't buy anything from anybody at the gym or anything like that. It became the half-life of testosterone cyprinate is 8 to 10 days. And in the conversation, I was in New Zealand with my youngest daughter, and my wife was going like, "You're really negative." Like day 8, and day 10, she goes like, "Did you take testosterone?" And I go, "No, everything's fine." But it's a great move elevator. I think for many men, if you get on it, you'll find that it is a incredible antidepressant. It's an incredible mood elevator. And most of the time, though, your primary care physician will not give you enough to make a difference, and you need to find a good functional medicine anti-aging doctor. And that's going to be a challenge because right now everybody is advertising, testosterone clinics and things like that, and a lot of those places I don't think are do a particularly good job of that. And if you, again, for your audience, I have an interview with Keith Nichols. He's one of the top testosterone doctors in the United States, and we go into great detail about what things are necessary and all that. And it's an interesting phenomenon about testosterone is that there is a generational decline of testosterone in males. And there's a thing called the male normative aging study that this goes into great detail about it. And it's been going around for more than just 30 years. But let's say just recently on my lab report, the high end for the free testosterone used to be 1100, and they dropped it down to 960. Okay, that's a 10%. That's 10%, maybe a little bit more drop. That's a huge drop. So what they can call normal is the average of unhealthy people. See, because and I'm still trying to verify this, and until I actually see it. But I had a friend of mine who's in this area also told me that about 15 years ago, the high normal was 1500. And so a lot of doctors are forced to treat to those normal lab ranges.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And the normal is not healthy. It's
right. So they're trying to get you. They're trying to get you to normal, not optimal. Not optimized.
Right. Optimized. Yeah. And that a friend of mine wrote a book called Testosterone Optimization Bible by James J. Campbell, and it's an interesting book. It's highly reference. There's footnotes. There's multiple footnotes on just about every page, and I think it's like 400 or 500 pages long. So it's just highly referenced. And Jay is incredible, an incredible guy, and very knowledgeable. But yeah. So it's kind of a interesting thing, and because of this, younger men are having lower and lower testosterone levels. And my friend Keith Nichols told me that he treats basically men for low testosterone. And he told me, he said, and this is kind of an alarming statistic. He said men in their 20s and 30s are showing up with lower baseline levels of testosterone than those that are showing up in this clinic in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and a lot of that is plastics and
exactly, yeah,
processed foods and
endocrine disrupting compounds.
Yeah. And the fact that we're buying a lot of stuff that says BPA free doesn't mean it's free of other bad stuff, right? It's free of that one bad thing. So yeah, I see.
I start reading more labels now.
Yeah.
So when did you become the old guy? Since your brand is pretty much don't get old.
Or wear your oldness properly,
right.
proudly. The old guy talks. Actually, it started off something else, and it's kind of derived, and we're about ready to make a big pivot here soon, also. But that was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And
so you didn't become the old guy at 48.
No. That was just something. I knew I was going to be transitioning out, and I knew I wanted to do something creative. In my previous life, I was a periodontist, a periodontal regenerative surgeon, and so I knew I wanted to do something completely different. And I've always had this creative side of me, this entertainer side, this pontificator. All that stuff. I love to pontificate. I mean, and I'm an attention whore.
Hey, well, when you got your instruments in somebody's mouth, then that's a really good time to be able to lecture, right?
Actually, I used to get really quiet. I used to get very focused, and actually, my assistants used to have to tell the patients, like, first of all, I used to sigh a lot. And so they had to and they would just have to tell, like, when I was doing surgery, because most of the time patients were conscious.
That wasn't a bad one. Don't worry.
Yeah. And so my assistant would say, okay, when the doctor's working, he sighs a lot. That doesn't mean anything. It's just that he just takes big breaths and takes big exhales. It does not mean anything. He's been doing it for decades, and that's just how he operates. So I got into that, and I enjoy it. As I said, the old guy talks was just kind of like, it started when I was about 60, probably about in my early 60s. And then it kind of grew and morphed and changed, just like, all things kind of morph and change after a while.
Yeah, because I'm on roughly the same path you were. I got married at 38. We had our first daughter when I was 42. I'm 44 now, so 44 with a 2.5-year-old. After a year in quarantine, I was getting up near 190 pounds. I'm 5'2", so that's that's up there. So I signed up for 4 long races, in the fall and winter. So I'm back on the exercise path, but I'm currently right where you were.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to, kind of see where you were a generation ago and now what you're doing.
Yeah. And part of it, that was when I really made that change, was also the time that I started my testosterone optimization. I had some friends that were into that. They were really into this whole anti-aging stuff, and they kind of got me squared away and all that. But I just, it's an interesting thing. Having young kids at an older age,
mm-hmm.
For me, it was really, I was done partying.
Mm-hmm.
I was done being single. I was done going out. I was done all that. I was ready to be a husband and a father. So I didn't feel like staying home was not like for some, especially I think if you're younger, staying home may be like punishment.
Right.
Like being grounded, except you're grounded with your kids. For me, that was a lot of fun. And the other advantage of it was that we were constantly, because you become friends with your kids' friends' parents.
Right.
And so we were always around people that were 10, 15 years younger than we were.
Yeah.
That was just the case, which in a lot of ways had a lot of benefits to being younger. It's funny. My wife said she didn't realize how young I was until we went to my 45th high school reunion. And she did, and that's when she saw it. That's when she saw a bunch of 60-year-olds and what they look like. She goes like, and that was part of it was because we were always around really young people,
right?
Fit and everything else. So it was kind of funny in that regard.
Well, and I mean, you're in the gym and you're taking testosterone. Yeah. We look at, I look around at some of the older people in my life, and we've got an example of one grandmother I'll keep names out, but and actual relations. One of them is doing yoga all the time, and she's up, and she can chase around a 6-year-old, and she can chase around a 3-year-old, and drives no problem, and she's she'll nap and whatever, but she's she's in her mid 70s, late 70s now. And another woman about the same age in our lives is barely walking. She's she carts a wheeled walker around, and has trouble walking up the stairs to her condo. So it's a matter of how young you want to be, because you have the option.
Yeah, you have the option, and you could choose. There's some certain realities to it, but I mean, but at the end of the day, you can still optimize your life in many different ways if you so choose to. But if you are, part of also is that I don't believe that there's anything called status quo. You're either getting better or you're worse. It's not possible to maintain the status quo. It's just.
Well, and if you maintain where you are, you're getting better, right?
Well, I don't know if you're getting better because if you're trying to maintain,
I guess if you're in a good place, if you're maintaining where you are, then you're getting better.
You're continually trying to get better,
against your cohort.
Yeah.
Kind of in line with this. Let me know if you want to veer off this line of questioning. But I saw your recent post on the Order of Man Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Where you had a bit of a change in your exercise data.
Yeah.
You want to go into that, and have you figured out what that meant yet, or are you still kind of searching that out?
No, I'm still in the whole thing. One of the worst things about moving is finding new doctors in where you're living. Okay, that's like, and I mean, I grew up in Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix from 1960 till 2018, except for going away to school at various times. That was home. My office was in Phoenix was about 2.5 miles from where the house I grew up, and I lived in the same neighborhood. So I was very parochial, and a lot of the doctors I knew, and I was on a first name basis with just about every one of my doctors, and I'd give them shit too. One of them, I walked in and I said, "Greg, you got fat." That was my first words. I didn't even say hello. I said, "Greg, you got fat."
That makes your doctor very happy. Yeah.
Well, he was like, he said, "I don't know what's happening to me." He was, he was actually kind of interesting because he was just turning 40, and he just says, "I got no energy. I got I go like, you need testosterone." And he called me up about 5 months later and said, like, oh, that was great. Thanks. He's got on it and lost about 20 pounds and got back in the gym, had energy and vibrancy and all that stuff. So that post, it was very interesting. I have, up until just recently, I've had this idea. I knew it intellectually, I knew it wasn't correct, but from an emotional attitude standpoint, I had an air of invincibility about me in my mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was. I didn't. I didn't. It's not that I was like view myself as being like a really tough guy or whatever. Blah blah blah. But I had the air of invincibility, and I was my wife was laughing like, oh my! I said, given my gene pool, I think I'm, good chance I'm going to leave till 110, 120. And she was, oh my God, I don't think I can spend that much time with you. And I got to tell you, I have a great relationship with my wife, and I'm just, we work on it too in all different areas. And so I got this. My daughter gave me this Garmin watch for Christmas, and my plan is to do a Spartan race in November with her. I've never done one, and I want to do one. And what I've noticed when I was out running was my heartbeat would just shoot up to like 155, 160, and just like right up there. And I was running the same 2 miles without building any stamina. And so, and the same thing in the gym when I'm lifting. All of a sudden, I look at my, it's like 155 is my heartbeat. I'm going like, what the hell is going on? And like 2 years ago, two and a half years ago, I mean, I was with my youngest daughter in New Zealand, and we were going up and down hills with 50-pound packs for 4 days, for 5 or 6 hours, because it was a preserve, and you had to. Basically, there was no water, there was no food. You had to carry in and carry out everything you brought with you, including your camping gear and everything. And so I started. I went to my cardiologist in Scottsdale, and all the tests they're doing is coming back fine. They're telling me, they checked for my arteries around the heart. They said, there's no calcifications. The guy said, though, there could be soft plaque, which would not show up on the test. But everything is coming back fine. But I got this issue of this heart rate that just goes insane. But I have no chest pain. I have nothing else. So I don't know what's going on. So I'm in the process right now. I have an appointment with a cardiologist here in Las Vegas. I know there's going to be lots of other tests. I actually going back to my pulmonologist, because if all these cardiac tests come back, then I have to start looking at other things. So that to me is actually the first time I've really actually confronted my mortality. That I felt that way, like I felt vulnerable to death, and it's kind of an interesting thing. And so that was the genesis of that post. And I used to, I have a routine that I go through in the morning, and one of the things that I look at is the statement is that you have less time than you think. And when I wrote that a year ago, I'm looking at that going like, I hope that's not prophetic. I hope that's not. I said, I hope that's not the. It's like going, but it's it's to me it's more it's about as irritating as anything else, because at some point you go out and you're working out, you go run, you want to gain stamina.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like, and I've gone from was it a long time ago? This is like was it 19 years ago, 18 years ago, for my 50th birthday. No, not my 50th. It was maybe a little bit less than that. I blow up and I shrink down. So I again got up to 230 pounds. And a friend of mine told me I was so fat I could never go on this trip with him. And the trip was to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so I got down from 230 to 165. And it was, I was all, and I was like, it was all legs. I mean, I had no like upper body strength. It was just like legs. And I was going up and down this place called Squaw Peak in Phoenix. And I'd go up 3 times up and down in the summer in the heat and everything else. But I was like, it was all legs. I mean, so I know what it takes to get healthy, to get in shape. And so it's not happening. It's not happening as I've done it in the past. And so I'm finding this particularly frustrating. It's frustrating to the point where like somebody's like, do you really want to even go and work out because there's no upside to it? You know, it's like going to work and not getting paid.
Right. If you're jumping right into that max heart rate, I mean, for reference for our listeners, an average maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age, which puts that above a max effort for you, 155, right?
Yeah. And then I know that, and I don't really understand VO2, but my VO2, and that's why I want to get back to my pulmonologist. That's the guy I called fat, to talk about that, because I'm starting to get the idea that it may not, the rapid heartbeat upon exertion may be a symptom of something else.
Gotcha.
In terms of the transference of oxygen in the lungs and things like that.
Well, hopefully you'll get back on track, because I know that Joe DeSena, who runs the Spartan races, is very keen on helping people get as healthy as they can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's I've heard some interesting podcasts with him.
Yeah. I actually read his book a while back. He's an interesting guy.
Good.
You said your birthday was in October. When's your birthday?
October 8th.
8th? Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's in October, and I'm like, make sure we had the same birthday, because I was going to have to start following you a lot closer. Mine's in 24. So for all us old farts out here who actually want to, because I watch Josh. Josh prepares for all these races. I got no desire to do, a marathon, except every once in a while, it's like, what would it be like? But when you're talking about not getting old, I'm guessing the first thing you had to approach with your mindset. So what did it take you to get your mindset to the point where, you're not old, you're going to do this thing?
I think it's the desire to be better every day. And that's a question I ask myself in the morning. I have a little ritual I go through, is what do I, there's 2 questions I like to ask myself. What is the most important thing I need to do today? And what do I have to do today to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? And I do meditation, and all that stuff. I'm no incense or anything like that. And for the life of me, I can't cross my feet like they were supposed to. Like, they got that pose and everything else. I can't do that shit. I do the old guy, sit down in a comfortable chair meditation, and breathing is the most important part of the meditation. And so, and I go through journaling, and I kind of talk, that's where you talk to yourself, answer questions. Sometimes you're nice to yourself, and sometimes you have really pissed off conversations at yourself. And like, why did I do that? That was pretty stupid. So I think that's it. I think it's the mental state of working to be better every day. And if I stop that, then I'll be on a downward spiral. And that's being better spiritually, being better in terms of business, being better in terms of your relationships with your family, all those areas, and also with your and physically. So you cover those 4 areas, and it takes work. There's no doubt about it. It takes work. It doesn't come easily. I mean, we have relationships. I have a great relationship with my wife. I have a great relationship with my 2 daughters. Even though they don't live in the same city that we do. And my wife does, but but my daughters don't. There was a time when we had a commuting marriage for a short while, very early on. And so I mean, like the thing about my daughters. Once a month, we sit down and via Zoom we have a virtual happy hour. I sit down and have a cocktail. They have a cocktail. I have a cigar, and we once a month. I think it's about right. I think you try to do too often. If you do too often, it just doesn't work.
Right.
But once a month is just about the right amount of time, and we sit and talk for about an hour, just them. And I just start to include my oldest daughter's boyfriend in the rotation. Looks like he's going to stay around, so I'll put the effort in. If he was not going to stay around, fuck, I wouldn't care. That's not true. That's not true. We actually we still keep track of some of our other daughters. Boy, he was our boyfriend, not her boyfriend. He was our boyfriend.
Y'all liked him more than your girl.
No. We liked our girl a lot, but he was our boyfriend.
But I mean, you liked him more than she did.
But yeah, at the end, yeah. But it was funny. So you do that. I mean, we spend a lot. My wife and I spend a lot of time working on each other in terms of and supporting each other. And a lot of times there are times that what I'm doing is the most important thing, and there's times that what she's doing is the most important thing. And so we have to be cognizant of it. And there's times that we have to, we have to work on things as a couple. Yeah. Because so I think being conscious about that, being conscious about the relationships.
How did you handle the transition from you being, well, I guess straight to being an older empty nester? Yeah, because your daughters left home when you were already in a retirement age.
Correct. Yeah.
So the way that like my parents were 24 and 28 when I was born. I'm the oldest. So everybody's out of the house by the time they were in their mid 40s to early 50s. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm in the same boat as you. Yeah, I'm gonna be of retirement age, though I probably won't be retired. My mid 60s by the time any kids are out of the house. How did you handle kind of transitioning both out of job and out of kids in the house?
The kids out of the house kind of happened slowly. Because we were, my oldest daughter left, and then my youngest daughter left 2 years later, and at that point, we were already working. I kind of started this whole thing that I was doing here, this old guy talks, and then my wife had been prior to and early on having kids. She used to be a corporate attorney for a big time law firm in California, and then she did the mommy track. She served on the board of directors for insurance companies, some other things that she did while not doing her legal career. And then she went back into working, and so she started working again, which I think was actually really good for us. It's been good for us in a lot of different ways, including the fact of money. So that was it, and we just decided there's certain things that we do. There's certain things that we do as a couple, and there's certain things that we do individually. And my wife gives me a lot of space to do stuff. She will actually sometimes will say, like, you need to get out of the house and go smoke a cigar. And she'll say, you need to get out of the house and smoke a cigar. And like I said, there are times that I know that she's doing something that's really, really important, and so I'm there supporting. Mm-hmm. I'm there in a supporting role, and and then there are times that she's there in a supporting role for me. I think a lot of times people don't do that. I think people don't take the time to really understand that. And my wife's got a pretty high pressure job now, and she loves it. I mean, she likes intensity. So she sells mid-market companies from $5 to $100 million for sale price. So she's got the deals that happen. They're not. They're pretty intense, especially the closer to the money changing hands, the more intense it gets because people just want to make sure everything's right. And she's really good at that. She's been very successful. The other thing is that we've made sure that we work to stay in shape and that we talk. And I think people mind reading does not work. Mind reading does not work. I've tried it. I can tell you, I trained in the Soviet Union for mind reading. No, I did not. And mind reading does not work. And and the other thing that actually I'm working on a webinar. It should be ready in about 90 days. Do not have important conversations when you're drunk, and do not have important conversations when you're drunk and pissed off. That's really not. That's a formula for divorce. That's really it. And the other thing is, and this is kind of my pontification here. How do you show up in the relationship? Who are you? You see this a lot of times, and this is true of men and women. This is kind of a universal thing. Is like they show up and they're kind of like a whatever, not particularly pleasant person, and then they go, then the other person gets all pissed off at him, so they're both like fighting, and then they end up getting divorced, and then they each end up marrying essentially the same person. And they repeat that cycle, right. And they just repeat it, and that's how you end up with 3 exes and a girlfriend. You go like, okay, I'm not getting married anymore. And so what's the saying goes? Wherever you are, there you go, or wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. And so I think a lot of times you just kind of think about, how am I showing up here? Am I showing up as a nice person that somebody would want to be around, or am I showing up as an asshole? It's and getting that bouquet of roses and flowers and that price fixed dinner on Valentine's Day ain't going to change the course of your life. It's what you do every day. It's what you do every day, and we don't celebrate. I mean, we do celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day, but most of the Hallmark holidays, we're like, no, thank you, and we don't go out on those days because everything's always, restaurants are jam packed and everything's overpriced. Everything. Valentine's Day is like the worst day to go to dinner somewhere.
Yeah, Valentine's Day was our first date, which I think was a setup because we were going to have a singles pity party. A bunch of us in bowling league, and my wife and I were the only 2 who showed up. So, but I'm the same way. I don't want to try to book a restaurant on or near Valentine's Day, especially because that winds up being like restaurant week in a lot of places, and everybody does their, like you said, they do a fixed price menu, and it winds up being food that they don't normally serve, so they don't even do it well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, no, I don't want to try the stuff that you got famous making 51 weeks a year. I don't want to try the stuff that you do for less money this 1 week a year. Yeah. But every celebration, we try to celebrate our wedding anniversary and our and Valentine's Day, but we do that with a charcuterie board at home and a steak. Yeah. And that's especially nice now that we have a young daughter. We don't have to find a babysitter unless we want to.
Well, yeah, I would actually, we always did, even when, but we didn't have a babysitter. We were fortunate enough to have a nanny. but we always, one night a week, we always went out.
Nice.
Had a date night, and I think that's an important thing to do.
That is important.
Yeah, because so we always did that, and I should say always, but pretty frequently.
Yeah, we make sure we have connection time, a few nights a week after the girls in bed. We try to stick to an 8 o'clock bedtime, so that gives us some good time. I actually work nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I work weekend days. So, for my day job. So, that gives us basically 3-4 nights a week to really spend together. And I work from home, so it's not. I'm not out until 3:30 in the morning working, but I'm sitting here in the garage. So they come hang out, and on a slow night I get to interact plenty, which is also nice. But and I like what you said earlier. I did the same thing. Coming into a marriage in my late 30s, I knew who I was. I was done with I didn't need to party anymore. Who cares? It didn't feel trapped. But Kelvin, I'm interested in hearing how you take that, since you had a different path through your marriages.
I've had a little different path. Yeah. That whole thing about the 3 wives and the girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure where I am past that, but the 3 wives are gone. Sorry. Yeah, I have, my path is a little different. And I personally thought I was a good guy, but, maybe I wasn't as good as I could have been for the first one, but, you learn after that. But I've been single now for 2004 was the last time. So part of that habit I've stopped doing. So I get married again. But in the other parts of my life, the relationships, I like being in my friendships. I show up like that. I don't have a lot of intimacy right now, but as a human, I like to show up for people. So I've got a lot of friends, and I like to show up. And although sometimes I have had days when I thought I knew everything, I recognize I don't. I'm a life coach, and now I ask way better questions than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I enjoy the part where I like to spoil people. I like to make them feel good. I like to make them feel special, and I do that to the best of my ability for most of the people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not there's an intimacy involved, or whether it's just us hanging out. Like in my relationship with Josh, he and I have been friends for a long time. Like I knew him before his wife did, not in a biblical sense, you understand. But and I'd like to think I actually played a part in getting them together, but I like to take credit for stuff. But I've watched them grow over the time, and it's awesome. They just really, really love each other, and they're good people. But I like being nice to people anyway. It's kind of what I do. There's a lot of people who think I treat them special. I don't know if I'll have another relationship, but I'm pretty happy with me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But we could. Last week I went out to breakfast and had some energy I hadn't seen in a while. I'm like, this could be fun. But generally speaking, you're right. I am who I am. I've learned that over time. And I make sure people know who that person is. I used to be on good behavior for a while, and then I'd wake up later. And I said, nah, just get that over with right up front. Get that over with right up front.
Don't skip the good behavior.
This is who I am. Yeah. And if you don't like this, well, it's okay. I mean, that's fine. I like me just fine. So that's kind of where I am with that. Would love to have another relationship, I think, but I know who I am these days. I also know who I'm not going to give up. Mm-hmm. So that's a conversation. That's not. I'm going to do all this to make you happy, and then later we're going to flip that around. No, this is who I am. You got to like this guy here,
right?
And I'm I'm going to be 68 in October. So
Okay.
Talk about being set in your ways and being old. I'm pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But on a whole, I love life. I love people. Josh, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Oh, I mean, I was wondering how it was hitting you, and I think you answered.
Oh, I love, yeah. I mean, I love everything you're saying. I watch you guys. Again, the you I'm looking at right here, Orest is not the it's not the guy on the website, which is okay, which is probably good. I probably live longer that way because the guy on the website I might be scared of. But it's nice to hear that, and it's nice to know that people make those relationships these days. Because I've known a lot of relationships where they don't get each other at all, and I don't even know how they stayed together the 20 minutes it took them to get married.
That's funny that you said that.
So what did you think you were going to find with the guy on the website? Yeah.
Oh, the pictures are great. I guess that Scotch coming out there with the cigar and the dark glasses. And I'm like, this is going to be an interesting conversation we're going to have today. So, but you didn't bring out the submachine guns or anything, coming out of Vegas. So I'm like, oh, this is a little bit different than I expected, which is nice. But I see the combo now because it's great. You're a mild-mannered, well, except for the times when you're not, which you tell us about. You know who you are. And I think probably one of the biggest problems in most relationships these days is that people get together who don't really realize who they are.
Oh, yeah. You have to know who you are.
And they want to pretend to be somebody that they thought they were, and then they get in a relationship and that doesn't work. So I've had enough time to figure out who I am these days. I know what my tolerances are, and I know what I'm willing to compromise on for the person that is worth the compromise. Glad I met you though, and didn't just go off the
I think that's funny because I get so many different kinds of reactions to that picture. That it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's good though.
Some people refer to that as the boss man picture.
Well, see, I think a lot of people see that as aggressive, and I just see relaxed.
I mean, I can see it as both. I know that when I pour a glass of scotch and have a cigar, it's because I'm in a happy place. I'm zoned out. I'm done with all the work that needs to be done, and I have a couple hours to just chill.
Yeah. Last time I saw you in that mode, it was at your wedding, because I remember the cigars on the deck. And
yeah. After most of the people had left, we went out in the back and we went out on the deck and had a cigar and a bottle of bourbon. And
I will let you know, however, that mine is likely going to be Southern Comfort. I'm not sure you.
So it was, it's kind of interesting because I think also the sunglasses also make it a little bit more intimidating.
Keeps the smoke out of your eyes, though. Orest, I want to be respectful of your time and energy here. I know we're poking over an hour at this point, but what do you? A couple of kind of wind down questions. What do you wish? What do you see in the world that you wish people would do differently? Whether this is young people or middle-aged people or older people or all of them. What do you? Obviously you've got this brand, so you're looking to help other people improve. What do you wish that people would do differently?
I wish people would take responsibility for their life. I think too many times people, and I've done this. There was a point in my life where I did it, where I had a victim conversation going on inside my head, and that I was powerless. And this, as the saying goes, it's not an original idea on my part here, but you can't, to some extent, you can and can't control events, but you can control how you react to them. And so many times people will do the victim conversation, and they'll take no responsibility. And a lot of times that conversation happens inside their head, and they use words like, I can't, they made me do it. All of those things are all, to me, are surrender your power phrases that you have in your head, and they're easy to get into in your head. And so once I start changing that conversation in my head, that's really when I did it. And I think again, it goes back to we were great fans of Tony Robbins, more so a long time ago, about 20 years ago, went to several of his live events and things like that. And he talks about the power of questions. And I'm not sure it's not an original concept, but ask yourself the question you want answered. If you ask yourself, why am I doing, let's say for an example, okay, let's say, why am I drinking too much? Your mind will give you an answer, and it'll just reinforce that behavior. Versus, you can ask yourself, how do I stop drinking so much? That's kind of better, but it still kind of takes the same thing. You might ask yourself, what can I do to replace drinking as a habit? And then you'll get different answers. So it's an interesting thing, but the power of questions, I think, is important. But as I said, the biggest thing that I see people, and I was in Clubhouse on these things, and I just couldn't. I was going to reply, but I have this rule, like, don't reply after you've had your second scotch. Don't hit the send button. Wait in the morning, because you're probably going to change that. And so I just wasn't. But everybody was saying, like, there's this group of people like saying, well, that person was thinking this. And I'm like, you don't have a clue what they're thinking. Oh yeah, they looked at me weird. I like people weird all the time. But most of the time, I'm not thinking about other people. I'm thinking about myself. Most people don't have enough time. Most people don't have time to think about you because you are irrelevant to their life. And the fact, it's kind of narcissistic to think that they're sitting there thinking about you. No, they're not thinking about you. And so I think that's kind of a funny thing that people are so sensitive about what, and why should it matter to you what I think about you? Why should it matter? Unless I'm actively engaging with you, and being, derogatory or whatever, or complimentary, what I think about you is irrelevant most of the time. I mean, for us, in our podcast, what our audience thinks is important. Yeah, it's important. But on an individual basis, most of the time, it's really not important what people think about you. And why you would fixate on that makes you, basically, if you're worried about what people are thinking, then your actions are going to be dictated by what you think they are thinking. And so you become captive to that idea. And so I think that's the silliest thing. And the other thing is to be, there's a big desire, there's a big orientation about being feelings focused. I feel this. How about getting results? Nothing makes you feel better than getting results. You can get feelings all day long, but are they based on reality? There's people that have, feel really good because they have a really, really nice car, but they're bankrupt and they're just one payment away from getting it repossessed, but they feel really good. And it's like, feelings they're important, but they don't outrank results. I guess that's the thing that I see, that everybody's focused on feeling so much, and unless they're based in reality, I don't have much time for them.
Well, people talk about feelings and people talk about empathy, and uh, and maybe confuse the two.
Mm-hmm.
That's empathy. It's good to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, technically, or at least try to feel what they're feeling. But feelings themselves, because we generate those inside our heads.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit there and before my meditations, and I can see what feelings are coming through, and like where did that come from? What is that? Until we realize that we actually have control over that. And again, that's one of those things. So empathy. Now you sound. I mean, I'm listening to you. You may not focus on everybody's feelings about you, but I sense that you're a very empathic person. You connect with people, so you know who they are and can get to.
Yeah, I do. I like to connect with people, Kelvin. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry if I did.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I do like to connect with people, and I enjoy being around people. And at the same time, those that I'm particularly close, I'm very particular about who I'm hanging around with. I'm repeating sayings that are not mine originally, but you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. I think that's very true. So I'm very particular about who I have in my circle of close friends. And so that's real important. But in general, I do tend to be respectful, courteous. I think that's important. That's just who I am. And I do want the best for people. I want them to do the thing, but I really don't. What I really don't like is when the victim mentality comes out. That's really because I know there's a certain persona about me now, okay, about where I am and all that stuff and blah blah blah. But I mean, I remember having to return Christmas presents so I could pay rent and utilities. I've been there. Been there where worried about the power being turned off and having to make that extra deposit to get it back on. So I totally understand. I don't totally understand that, but I just don't understand when people do the victim thing. Your people are better than that if they can identify it in themselves, because and there's a certain celebrity to being victim. You can tell a story and people feel sorry for you and the blah blah blah, blah, blah. But in the end of the day, is that victim mentality, is that going to put food on your table? Is that going to get you the car you want? Is that going to get you the house you want, the relationship you want? I mean, no, I'm just laughing. But playing the victim card for sex. Everybody's done that. Don't tell me. And if somebody says, "Oh, I've never done that," I'm gonna go, liar. It's yeah. And when you do it, it's not particularly good sexy.
Yeah.
It's just I think that there's a, what's it called, a mercy something. And so yeah,
you got scotch over there? No.
Yeah, a little bit early for scotch. That's later on today. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is when so many people are so inclined to play the victim mentality, that it's a sad thing, and it's more and more prevalent. And I think part of it also is that people are being trained, especially younger people, to not take care of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We were all the age, I got beat up when I was a young kid, on the playground. I was pudgy and everything. But I became stronger over time and adapted and learned how to do things. But now everybody's supposed to go tell the teacher, and the teacher doesn't do anything. And it's all kind of like you're not being taught to take care of your own environment. My youngest daughter is pretty funny. This is probably not the PTA counseling advice, but she had switched schools, and she went to a school, and she's a pretty athletic girl. She's actually a very athletic girl, and she had this boy was going by and trying to knock her books down and slam her into a locker and things like that. He was just being a dick. He probably liked her. That's probably why he was doing that. And she was getting pissed. And we were talking about that. And I said, "This is what you do, honey. This is what you do. You have your little pack of girls that you run with. So there was like 7 or 8 of them. They're all pretty tight." I said, next time he tries to do that, you turn around and you can tell him that if he continues to do this, she's going to start calling him cockroach, and she's going to get all her friends to call him cockroach. And this was they went from to senior in high school. And she said, and from now on, your whole time here at this school, your name will be Cockroach. Guess who stopped? Because the kid knew that she'd get all those girls were just really kind of they were just like cockroach, hey cockroach, and pretty soon the whole school would be calling him cockroach.
Yeah,
and not something you want as a teenage boy.
No. And you could get away with calling a kid cockroach. It's not a profanity or anything like that.
Right. I know my wife is at some point hoping to get us out to Vegas, so maybe I will try to find a race out there to train for, and we can
connect. Yeah, absolutely.
Try one of those, and then go have a cigar after. And
perfect.
Where do you hang out on the web? Where do you like people to connect with you?
You can reach me at my blog with the badass picture is Old Guy Talks, which is getting a big makeover. We're actually in the middle of a big makeover, so that's going to be changing. And if you opt in, I have to clean it up because I've been told that I talk about 3 ways to improve your intimacy. That used to be 3 ways to get laid more frequently without begging. And if you opt in, I'll share those 3 things with you. And the other place is to find me at the oldguytalkstome.com. That's my podcast. Episodes go out weekly, and has we talk about, as I said, we talked about testosterone. We talked about anti-aging, peptides, stem cells. We talked about erectile dysfunction. Talk about menopause, vaginal deterioration and rejuvenation. We talk about scotch. We talk about scars, porn addiction, end of life conversations, and lots of interviews on relationships and sex, which is of interest to a lot of people. I think the sex part is pretty funny. In a lot of regards, because we always have a good time when I have a talk with various experts in the relationship and sex space.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will let you know when this goes up.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been great to meet both of you and have this wonderful conversation. And I thank you for taking the time to talk with this old guy.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Here,
All right. Okay.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends. And we will see you next week. Bye.
A Better Humanhood production.